Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mio on MMA podcast. I am talking about UFC Macau primarily, but I'm also going to talk about the Verhoeven versus Usyk fight and also MVP MMA. And if there's time, like I get to the end of that whole thing and like there's like it's not a super long episode, I will probably talk a little bit about the most recent Apex offering from the UFC. Let's break down the fights first, because I think that's usually the most interesting part of this. And I honestly, my thoughts on MVP and the boxing is probably nothing you haven't already heard on Twitter or other MMA social media. It'll be put through my lens, and maybe I can say something interesting, but there probably won't be an original thought there. So let's talk about the fights here. Before we do that, the usual betting spiel here. MMA is a chaotic sport. It is unreliable as far as making money is concerned. Do not rely on it to make money. Do not look at it as a path to financial freedom, and do not bet what you cannot lose. I obviously am not anti-betting. I bet. I am a degenerate in that regard, but it should be kept fun, low risk, and what you can absolutely afford to lose. There should never be. I every time I see somebody on Twitter who's not rich, who's not like Drake or something, talking about how they lost 6 figures on a fight or 5 figures on a fight, I am deeply saddened for humanity. That's all. Let's talk about this fight overall. And I mean, like this card overall is not particularly good in the sense that it will probably be violent. It'll probably be fun, but the fights are not terribly informative. There's a lot of long betting odds here. And they're long betting odds that I think are actually entirely applicable to the fights themselves. So it's not even all that interesting from a betting standpoint in that regard. But there's a couple of good fights on here. And like I said, there should be some violent fun. Deiveson Figueiredo versus Yadong Song is the main event. And I think the problem I have with this fight at the end of the day, and why I'm like a little bit ho-hum about it, is it's going to probably be long. Because I do not see Yadong Song surprising Figueiredo to get a finish. Unless it's by injury. Similar to Corey Sandhagen. Not necessarily that situation, but like injury like he had against Corey Sandhagen. But it's also a fight that it's a fight that'll go long, but at the same time, I don't think Figueiredo is likely to have a lot of solutions, high moments, ability to really stop Yadong Song from doing his thing. Because like Yadong Song is not a complex or nuanced fighter. But he has a very, very effective meta base game. He can wrestle. He can low kick. He can box. He can fight at a good pace. He's athletic. He's fast. He's reasonably long for the division. I think he's, 5'8", 67-inch reach? That seems low to me, honestly. I never thought of him as a guy with a lower reach than his height. But his ability to execute a very basic game plan, not necessarily change things up, very static pace, very static techniques, and so on, but his ability to have a reasonably solid game plan, a reasonably good idea coming into the fight, is a hallmark of his and generally works out. And if you're not at the absolute top of your game, and you're not absolutely one of the best fighters in the world at 135 pounds, you're not really beating him. Like his losses are to Sean O'Malley, Peter Yan, Corey Sandhagen, in a very good performance by Sandhagen. Kyler Phillips back in the day. And I guess Kyler Phillips is the one that stands out, of course, because of the bad cardio and stuff. And then you have to go back to the Chinese regional scene, where he did lose some fights, but he's also absurdly young. Since moving to American Top Team, essentially, I just listed not American Top Team, Team Alpha Male. I've essentially listed everybody that's beaten him. And they're guys who are in the title picture, with the exception of Kyler Phillips. Deiveson Figueiredo in his prime, it would have been interesting to see here, because prime Deiveson Figueiredo was very dynamic, very explosive, very quick, had the power to turn a fight around on a dime. It's not there anymore. He's not washed. He's not useless. He's not done. He can still win fights. He can still beat probably the majority of the division, even coming up a weight class. But if you look at the fights that he's won, they've all required people who had massive, I don't want to say obvious, because I don't think the obvious part is even necessarily a thing, but they all had a massive weakness that could be exploited by Deiveson Figueiredo. Montel Jackson has a lack of, honestly, assertiveness and volume, and gets intimidated by things going wrong. So all it took was Figueiredo hitting him hard a couple of times to put the fear of God into him, even though he hadn't really hurt him. And obviously, there's also some wrestling issues, which we saw Ronnie Barcelos also exploit. So when he wins that fight, it doesn't really mean anything. When he beats Marlon Vera, it's more about Marlon Vera's lack of volume. Like, when you're getting out volume by Davidson Figueiredo, you have a problem. You have a major problem. And Rob Font is probably the best win of the bunch, but at the same time, he has had a massive problem with, like, wrestling attacks and people going for it. And out of curiosity, I'm trying to remember how many takedowns did Figueiredo have in that particular fight. So I want Rob Font UFC stats, please. Yeah, David Figueiredo, 4 takedowns in that fight, which was a massive deal. Only about 4 minutes of top control, of course, but he managed to get those takedowns and largely just kind of smother Font for rounds 2 and rounds 3. It's not likely something he can do against Yadong Song, because Yadong Song actually fights off takedowns pretty damn well. Not necessarily the greatest in the world at that. Takedown defense is 73%. It can be done. It's how Kyler Phillips beat him with 5. It's how Cody Stamon had a competitive fight with him. But it's not something that's been reliable as a way of, like, doing it. Utilizing wrestling allowed Corey Sandhagen to surprise him a lot, but not necessarily dominate with the wrestling. So I'm going to go with Yadong Song, but it's the fact that I don't think it's going to be a changing fight. It's going to be a slow 25-minute beatdown, I think, which is, I think, what is putting me off here. The odds have him as an over TKO favorite, and I wouldn't be surprised if he stopped Figueiredo. That's on the table. He's got power, he's got speed, he's got dynamicism, but Figueiredo is still pretty damn durable. And there's nothing that surprises about Yadong Song's speed and dynamicism. Like, he's probably the most dynamic but predictable fighter on the planet. That's why I think it goes the distance. Song is a bit too much of a favorite for me to really consider betting on him. Minus 549 to minus 650. But I just don't really know what a Figueiredo win looks like, aside from freak stoppage. To have any thoughts about placing an underdog bet. Ming Yang Zhang versus Alonzo Menifield. I don't have a ton to say about this fight. It is a 2 true outcome fight. Ming Yang Zhang, regardless of the opponent, more or less, goes out there and he's aggressive and he's going to try to utilize the fact that he is a big hitter and he has good size for the division and he has good physicality for the division. He's going to go try and basically run over Alonzo Menifield. And before the Volkan Oezdemir fight, I would have probably picked Menifield to weather that storm, get to the late first round to the second round, and get a stoppage. Because Zhang is not super durable and has horrible defensive instincts, horrible defensive technique, and also the fact that he is batshit aggressive means that it just amplifies that weakness to the point that I think almost anybody with a level of durability can probably take advantage of it. I mean, hell, Johnny Walker did. The problem is that, and I don't know why this is, because it's kind of cropped up after a winning streak for Menifield, even though they were ugly fights against Omar Sy and Julian Walker. But they were fights that he won, so I'm very, very puzzled by this. But he's come out of those as like the capital T technical hesitant fighter. He lets himself get backed up into the fence. He tries to be a slick defensive fighter, which is not a bad idea. It's not terrible. But there is nothing to profit off of that, capitalize off of that. There's no feint game, counter game that realistically allows him to actually be dangerous while that's happening. So he just kind of gets backed up and eats crap. And that's what Volkan Oezdemir did to him. And it's not that Volkan Oezdemir is a worse fighter than Ming Yang Zhang. He's not. He's actually a far better one. But that was the fight where it was like, okay, it doesn't take a future champion or a future title contender like a Carlos Ulberg or a, who else was the, Azamat Mirzakhanov, who's not a future champion or anything or even contender, but a guy who has like, guys who are really, really good finishers and not just hard hitters to take out Menifield. I'm starting to believe it's just anybody who can hit hard and make him give ground. So I gotta go with Zhang here. But like if he doesn't get the finish, like dude has cardio issues, dude has defensive issues, dude combusts. So if Menifield can last I'm going to put it at 3.5 minutes. Probably wins. I just don't think he does. So Zhang by TKO is the pick. He is a minus 225 to minus 265 favorite. Plus 175 to plus 123. I think the irony is that if Zhang wins, it's going to look like a minus 500 favorite or something. But like those are totally correct lines because you should not bet on Zhang at a heavy favorite odds like ever. There is too much wrong with his game. There is too much to exploit. There is too much to capitalize on. I am surprised that for some reason Menifield's like finishing odds are like all pretty high. Like he's plus 450 to plus 500 on TKO, which is weird because he's only a plus 173 to plus 223 underdog. And I don't know how else you have him winning. Like, are we picking him to win a decision? I'm not picking anyone to win a decision over Zhang. You finish Zhang. That's what you do. Zhang lives by the sword, dies by the sword. Sergey Pavlovich versus Taila Teixeira. I don't like this booking because Teixeira just barely got by Tai Tuivasa, and we're throwing him in there with one of the few like legitimately good heavyweights in the division. Like, let this man develop. Let this man develop slowly. Let this man put some things together because he is trying to develop some things. He's trying to kind of actually do the Menefield thing with the slick defense and stuff, and I think it's a bad idea. Not on its own, for the record. I'm not saying don't be slick. I'm not saying don't be evasive. I'm not saying any of that. I am saying that there are building blocks that need to be put into place first, like an ability to manage range, like an ability to have footwork, like an ability to be evasive, that are all missing from Teixeira's game right now. So his coaches are doing the right thing and trying to tidy up his game and change things after he lost to Derek Lewis. That realization that just being a big hitter wasn't on its own going to be enough to get you to the promised land. But I don't think the ideas are actually the right ones, and it's only been 3 months since you looked really bad against Tai Tuivasa, and you're taking a fight against Sergey Pavlovich. That is questionable at best. Now, his hope is that last time we saw Pavlovich fight someone in the 6'7" variety, it was Alexander Volkov. And Volkov really made him look a little bit silly. But the problem, I think, is that I think he came into that fight beaten by Volkov because they had trained so much. And my understanding is that Volkov had done very well against Pavlovich in the gym. I think that intimidated Pavlovich. I think that got him used to losing to Volkov. And Teixeira is just not as sharp. I don't think it's just being tall that makes Pavlovich have problems. I don't honestly think that that's the case. Pavlovich is no one's idea of a complex or nuanced fighter, similar to Yadong Song. But he hits quite hard. Despite the height disadvantage of 4 inches, he's actually got the longer reach. He's got freakishly long arms. He's got a good jab. He's got reasonable pressuring footwork. I suspect he'll be able to hunt Teixeira down. And like I said, Teixeira gives way too much ground and doesn't control the action. Doesn't control the range really at all. So if you're going to let Pavlovich pressure you, and you're not super durable, I have to pick Pavlovich to knock you out. I know his stock is low right now, but I think that's a mistake. So the fact that I can get Pavlovich for oh, never mind. Pavlovich is one of the prohibitive favorites here. minus 526 to minus 650. And plus 397 to plus 460 on Teixeira. Yeah, those odds feel correct, unfortunately. I may still make a small bet on Pavlovich, but I'm not pounding that line because it probably does actually feel correct. Kai Asakura versus Cameron Smotherman. Listen, I'm picking Asakura here because, yes, he's going up a weight class, but Smotherman doesn't in any way use size to actually weaponize things. He's a low-paced, not bad technically boxer, but the lack of the pace, the lack of the assertiveness on the fight, the lack of the aggression really makes him a hard one to pick because he is not a good athlete. He's a pretty low-end athlete for the standards of 135, and Asakura is a very, very good athlete. He's an elite athlete. He has a ton wrong with his game. Don't get me wrong. There are huge grappling issues. There are huge wrestling issues. There are even huge like striking issues. I don't even like his striking game, but he is goddamn fast. And he is dangerous, and he is explosive, and he is dynamic, and he's tough, and he's aggressive, and he's confident, and he's got the mental fortitude for this game. Even after 2 straight losses, he's still talking like a competent guy who's out there to kill someone. So, Kai Asakura by TKO. Smotherman also tends to come out like cold sometimes, so I wouldn't be surprised to see this be like a first-round nukage. Jake Matthews versus Carlston Harris. Oh, odds. Asakura is only minus 270 to minus 323. I am pounding that line. And plus 210 to plus 257. It's also an over line. So I will probably also be pounding the under. That'll be my like stupid bet fight for the card. Jake Matthews, Carlston Harris. I'm never in my life going to be confident picking Jake Matthews because there are so many bad vibes that he gives off. However, this is about as confident as I can get. Carlston Harris is a poorly built fighter. He has the athleticism, the frame, and the size to be a very good UFC welterweight. He has the aggression, the confidence, and the mentality as well. But his game is built wrong. He is a swinging clinger who does not have good wrestling. So there's not really a way I see him winning fights. But again, Jake Matthews is a head case who can definitely fall apart. But he's the better boxer. He's the more functional mid-range striker, the more functional long-range striker. He himself is a pretty decent wrestler. He himself is a pretty good grappler. He himself is a pretty good athlete. He himself is a pretty good scrambler. All the ingredients to be a very good fighter are present in Jake Matthews. It's just that the quality, the consistency of his talent application is problematic. His ability to handle adversity is problematic. And Harris will be aggressive enough to continuously try to create car crashes for him to take advantage. And for all the hate I gave Harris, he is, like I said, a pretty big guy. He's a pretty strong guy. He's a pretty big hitter. He is an aggressive guy for going for submissions on the ground. He loves attacking the neck. I still am very confused how he beat Impa Kasanganai, but it is what it is. I've got to pick Jake Matthews. I've got to pick Matthews probably by TKO. Harris's insistence in creating car crashes inevitably puts him into bad spots, and that makes him pretty finishable. So, yeah, and the favorites have it as a TKO as well. So Matthews minus 350 to minus 420. Not betting it. Plus 260 to plus 355 on Harris. I am also not betting the underdog. Alex Perez versus Subu Darji, a battle of two guys who are pathologically aggressive in different ways. In Perez's version, it's the pure bully mentality. I'm going to come forward, I'm going to throw heat, I'm going to pressure you, I'm going to make you fight me, I'm going to wrestle you, I'm going to scramble with you, I'm going to go for submissions and go for powerful shots and whatever. And it leads to some good things. Sumudarji is pathologically aggressive in the sense that if he gets taken down, he must grapple you. And if it's a standing exchange, he will make that exchange as long as you want it and never terminate it. And even if he's losing, he has no way of actually getting out of the engagement in a good spot or that it sets up anything in the future. He will do it. And as a result, I have to pick Perez, but there is a disclaimer on this one. Weird stuff always happens in Alex Perez fights, either beforehand or in the cage. So we never know. Sometimes it breaks in his favor, sometimes it doesn't. But I have Perez by submission because Sumudarji can be submitted, can be attacked, and doesn't know how to say no to a grappling exchange. So Alex Perez is the pick. He is the minus 120 to minus 150 favorite, which, to be honest, if it wasn't for the oddity and the unreliable nature of Perez fights, I'd want to see him as a bigger favorite. But I also totally get it. I will be betting that. Felipe Diaz versus Yi Sak Lee. I don't know what to do with this fight. Diaz is aggressive when confident, persistent, has a good kicking game. I like his body kicks. And he has good finishing instincts. He should be fun while he's in the UFC. But I also think he's not very good. His wins are all very much based on overpowering guys who are athletically limited. And I don't get the feeling that he has that elite athleticism like a Kai Asakura. I feel like, this is a case where you have been beating guys who would be, by UFC standards, unathletic. And that's going to be a problem in the UFC. Yisak Lee, kind of the same problems. He has a reasonably well-defined wrestling and back take game. It's there. Solid back taker. Actually, like his ground and pound. But it's, again, also against very low levels of opposition. So I'm going to go with Luis Felipe Diaz by submission. Because Lee has some bad tendencies on the ground that could lead to him in bad spots. And he needs to learn. He's 26 years old. So he's got some time. I think if we're talking in 5 years about who's still on contract, it's probably Lee. But I think there's a rude awakening for him in his first couple of UFC fights coming. So Diaz, submission. Am I confident on it? Nope. Not really at all. He's minus 170 to minus 183 favorite, though. Plus 138 to plus 163 on Lee. It seems like the betting public is, generally speaking, on my side. Meng Ding versus Jose Enrique. Repeat everything I said about the last fight and put it here. I don't really know. These guys have beaten guys who are not very good. In the case of Ming Ding, I've also seen him lose a number of times. So it's like really, really hard to stand up and be like, I have confidence in this guy. And I know the Chinese scene, they start very, very young. They pick up losses. Yudong Song had that happen to him as well, and he turned into a perfectly functional fighter. Maybe Meng Ding is on the way to that. Maybe he is. But I'm going to go with Enrique by submission, probably a club and sub. Ding tends to put himself into dangerous positions, even when he's not getting clubbed. And Enrique has a boxing background that one would think should land him with some decent boxing. I don't know. But really, I'm picking him because he's a plus 100 to plus 117 underdog. Like, that's essentially where I'm going with this. I'm picking the dog because I don't know what to make of either of these guys. It's the pain when you get debuting fighter against debuting fighter. It's like, I want to learn about you, but I kind of need you to fight somebody that I have a grasp on how good they are and where they fit. I don't have that with either guy. Urichi Lang versus Cody Haddon. This one's an interesting fight. Cody Haddon is a good prospect. There is something missing from him, and I know what it is. It's elite level. It's some kind of elite athletic trait. The speed, the power, whatever. It's not quite there. He's got good counter timing. He's well-rounded. He's well-schooled. He's got solid boxing. There's some good kicks in there. There's some wrestling in there. There's some submissions in there. There's grappling in there. There's no technical weakness to his game. It's just he's missing that little spice, that little extra thing that puts him over the top. And it has me worried. But his only loss is to Steve Versailles, so it can't be that bad. Richie Lang is not a bad test. He's a reasonably well-rounded guy himself. He has odd angle power where he hits you and it doesn't look very good, but then you're just dead. So that's on the table. He's just a good test, and I expect Haddon to pass it. And I am looking for something that puts me on the Haddon bandwagon a little bit more than I am right now. He's a minus 350 to minus 360 fighter. Plus 260, plus 317 on Urichi Lang. Bit of a weird line, because Lang's line has a little bit of play in it, and Haddon's is like real narrow. Don't really see that a lot. Ray Saruya versus Luis Garule. Garule's taking this fight on 2 weeks' notice. Saruya is a good wrestler. Garule relies on his wrestling to be able to win. He's not a high pace fighter at all. Saruya needs to work on his striking. but I do tend to see this being mostly a wrestling match, and I will take Tsuruya. He is a bettable favorite. Minus 225 to minus 275. I will be betting on that. Plus 175 to plus 145. Plus 245, pardon me. This is a really, really weird booking because, I mean, there's no reason for Gurule to be fighting this soon after he already fought. And we're in Asia. You're telling me you couldn't find a flyweight? Come on. Come on. You don't need to get Gurule flying over the Pacific Ocean to get there for this fight. And after, to be clear, a war of a fight with Daniel Barres. It's not like he had an easy fight with Barres. Angela Hill versus... I always get this fighter wrong. I'm bad with Chinese names. I freely admit this. Jingyang Chong? We'll go with Jingyang. She's from One Championship. I've seen her fight a lot, and that's why I'm like really bugged by the fact that I mess her name up, and it just will not stick in my goddamn. I literally went and watched a fight before I started recording of hers on YouTube just to get the pronunciation down, and I'm almost entirely certain I have butchered it again. I love Angie Hill, but it's really, really hard to pick Angela Hill at 41. It's really hard to pick any fighter at 41. Like, that's what it comes down to. She has been losing, and she's been losing not badly or anything, not looking like washed or anything, but there are fights that I think she should be winning, which, I mean, I guess is the story of her career. But when you start losing to Yasmin Lucindo and having a really competitive fight with Ketlin Souza, kind of have to ask questions. Kind of have to lose faith a little bit. Jingyang is actually a really solid kickboxer. She comes from one of the better schools in China, and she has good range, good inside fighting. She's a good clinch fighter. I still think Hill could surprise her in the clinch. Like, that is my concern because she's willing to clinch with people so much and generally sees that as a positive spot for her. And I'm not sure that it really is in this fight. Angela Hill is a surprisingly good clinch fighter. But I do have to go with her. It's a youth pick. I still think it'll be close. I still think there will be Hill fans who think she won. And I think there will be an argument for that. But I think we're slowly over time going to be running out of those type of fights. And another line for me to bet, because it's minus 186 to 219 on Jingyang. And it's plus 163 to plus 181 on Angela Hill. If you're favoring Angela Hill and you're doing the nostalgia pick, it's also a bettable line. I'll be clear. I think her underdog maybe should be a little bit bigger than that, though. Kanji Zhu versus Rodrigo Vera. This is a late notice replacement fight, but I don't think that's a problem for Vera. Vera is one size fit all. I'm going to come forward. I'm going to throw some knees. I'm going to throw some punches. There's going to be some pop on them. But my goal is to get you down on the ground, get your back, and control you or submit you. And Zhu has serious, serious wrestling issues. He's been taken down. Get ready for this 20 times in his last two fights. That's a lot. Does he scramble well? Yes. Is he hard to control? Yes. Is Vera by far the best grappler he's ever fought? Also yes. So Vera by decision is my pick. He is a very bettable minus 104 to minus 120, minus 100 to minus 110 on Zhu. That makes it a basically even money fight. I will be pounding the Vera line. Lomalu Bumi versus Jacqueline Amarim. There are two schools of thought that I can think of for this fight. The first is that Amarim comes out and has her way with Loma. You can out-wrestle Loma. You can bully her a little bit. She's small. She can be taken down. Just ask Lupi Godinez. Just ask Alexa Thainara. And Amarim has good takedowns for Jiu-Jitsu girl. She has the athletic boxes ticked. She has the strength. She has the power. She's also, at least starts the fight fairly fearless. But her mental durability and toughness is really in question. It's probably why she cheats in her fights so much. It's probably why she falls apart and adrenaline dumps if things go wrong. She doesn't even have to be particularly hurt by somebody. She just has to face a lot of pushback. Loma Lubumi will give her pushback. And I'm going to take Loma. And the fact that she's an underdog at plus 101 to 113 makes me very, very happy because I can go hard on the underdog line because Loma is an undersized fighter who really needs the atomweight division. Again, I posted this on Twitter the other day. I don't know why the UFC has not done an atomweight division, because some of their most wanted to promote fighters have been atomweights. Tabitha Ricci has never fought at atomweight, as far as I know, but she's grappled very low, and she looks like she could make the weight. And of course, Michelle Waterson Gomez was a career atomweight who the UFC really wanted to push very clearly, and they didn't give her a division. Then again, this is also the same promotion that signed Cyborg and resisted to the bitter end actually booking her at 145. So maybe I'm giving them too much credit. But you have the bones, the structure, the skeleton of a very solid atomweight division on the roster already. Just do it. It'd be phenomenal to see like Loma versus Ricci for the inaugural title. Anyways, that is the fight card. Let's talk about the Verhoeven versus Usyk fight. I thought it was a fantastic performance by Rico Verhoeven. I will be quite honest with everything. I have not followed boxing for like a good 10 years now. I am not up to date. I know who Usyk is. I've watched his fights with a couple of them. I get it. I think I have a broad spectrum idea of what he looks like. I thought he looked a little bit old. Definitely a little bit, definitely like kind of like getting up in there in the age, and that, you know, that makes sense because he's 39 or he's 40. Yeah, he's 39 years old, 4 months and 6 days at the time of the fight. And Verhoeven also had a really good game plan. He went out there and he utilized some of the big body clinching of Tyson Fury that Fury gave Usyk problems with. He actually used, I don't want to say it, but I kind of need to, MMA angles, going back to the Conor McGregor days, in the sense that there were some non-standard ideas being applied in the boxing ring by a non-boxer. And I'm not saying MMA angles were the key, bro, because to be honest, it was the body work, it was the clinch work, it was the pace. The things that make Verhoeven a good kickboxer were like, you know, in play. And some people had him up 9-1. I think that's ridiculous, but that's just me. But Usyk was turning the fight around, and then he got the stoppage in the 11th round. It was not a particularly good stoppage, in my opinion. There are people that have defended it, and I'm not saying it's an all-time bad stoppage or whatever. We've seen worse, but it did feel like a quick one, quick on the trigger to stop the fight and end the thing. And of course, that's led to the whole, it was rigged, they didn't want to let the kickboxer beat the boxer, and etc., etc. Maybe. But I also think that if they really wanted to do that, they would probably just stop doing these fights after Francis Ngannou kind of made Tyson Fury look bad. That's just my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. I'm not really a boxing guy anymore. MMA kind of is the thing that scratches like all my little itches. Speaking of Francis Ngannou, over in MVP MMA, Ronda Rousey submitted Gina Carano. There were also fixed allegations about this fight. Bullshit. You guys have not seen Ronda Rousey fight. You guys have not seen Gina Carano try to defend a takedown either. That's my honest to God opinion. I was cautionary about this fight in terms of like, should you pick Rousey and should you bet Rousey? And then it was just like, she's been away for a long time. There are mental concerns. But like, if she comes out and she's confident and she like has instant success, she's going to just dominate. And she did. Mike Perry versus Nate Diaz. Please don't do a rematch of this fight. I don't need to see it. Nate Diaz's corner gets a medal for stopping the fight. I appreciate that a lot. Mike Perry is not good, but Mike Perry will go out there and hit you really, really goddamn hard and be insistent to scrap with you. And I don't think Nate Diaz has anything left to give. Like I say, this is a guy who foolishly, I might add, picked Nate Diaz to win this fight because I'm like, I can't believe in Mike Perry beating Nate Diaz. I was like, no. At no point in this fight was like Diaz has anything left. There were some moments, I guess, like a good shot here and there. There was a cool hip toss takedown, but like, no, I'm not interested in seeing Nate Diaz fight anybody. Maybe some kind of like some super nostalgia fight with like, I guess I'd be okay with like a Maynard fight or another retired fighter, but I have no interest in seeing him fight like actual fighters. Francis Ngannou knocked out Felipe Lins. Does it mean anything? No, not really, but I think UFC fans are really, really tooting their horn a little bit when they're like, man, did you see Felipe Lins land against him? Our division is so much better than Francis Ngannou now. No. 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 Arguably your best heavyweight is still Cyril Gane. Get out of here. Get out of here. It would be interesting. Like, there are fights that are interesting for Ngannou in the UFC. I would not hate a fight, obviously, with Aspinall. I would not hate a fight with Gane. I would not hate a fight with Alex Pereira. I would not hate a fight with, like, Sergey Pavlovich and Alexander Volkov. And maybe Josh Hawkins eventually. But now, let's not kid ourselves. He would still be, like, a top 5 guy. He still has nuclear power. He still is quite durable. He's not as evasive anymore. He wasn't particularly evasive to begin with, though. He's not as defensively sound anymore. But he wasn't particularly defensively sound to begin with. So, he got the win. No real surprise. Highlight of the card, though, was Saladin Parnassi versus Kenny Cross. That was fun. Bodies, kicks, and a stoppage. I like it. I like it a lot. Rebellas to Spain, Junior Santos. Sad fight. Not going to talk about it. Pass. Namo Fazil versus Jake Babian was pretty good. Jake Babian came out like pretty good. He had a good grappling edge on Fazil early on. He had some good positions, but he jumped a backpack a little bit too hard, and then his striking is terrible. Oh my lord! And then Fazil lacked up an anaconda choke to get the victory, or was it a Darce choke? I know that's the popular thing now. When it's an anaconda, to yell it's a Darce. When it's a Darce, to yell it's an anaconda, and be like, I think I said this when I was talking about this before. I don't know. I don't go for Darces and Anacondas much. I know how to defend them, but I don't consider myself an expert on the matter. I don't have the arms for it. I have a 71-inch reach, and I'm a heavyweight. That tells you everything you need to know. Adriano Moraes versus Fumi Nakula. That was good. That was fun. There were some cool moments. Moraes got hurt bad, came back. Fought really hard, got a submission at the end. And there was controversy, of course, because he definitely held the choke after the bell. Was Nakuda out? I don't know. I will say, though, Nakuda lost me a little bit in the post-fight, because when Ariel Helwani asked if he was out, he's like, do I look out? It's like, no, bro, you were 100% out. Like, the question is when you went out, not did you go out. like your body was limp as shit out of that choke. Like, the question is not were you out, it was were you out before the bell. So to have him do that song and dance was a bit silly. That being said, Moraes also doing the song and dance of no, bro, he was out of it. He was out of it. It's like no. Let's be real. There's nothing better for you two guys to do if Mokaev can't get his visa shit sorted out. Just fight again. There you go. So both of them kind of lost a little bit for me in the post-fight, but it was a real fun fight. Jason Jackson versus Jeff Creighton. Jackson melted him. I don't have anything else to really say. I came into this fight, of course, like picking Jackson and all that, but also thinking like, man, Jeff Creighton's a little bit better than people are giving him credit for. There might be some moments here. I don't think he can win, but there might be some competitive moments. And then like the first punch was exchange happened, and I'm like, nope. Any hyping I did of Jefferson Creighton was a bad idea, a completely bad idea, and we'll leave it at that. David Magoyan versus Alberto Morales. David Magoyan gained the win. I don't have hype for Magoyan. They really were trying to hype him on the broadcast as a big prospect, and I get it. He's 9-1, and he's like got really good technique and everything. I just think he's not nearly a good enough athlete. It's kind of the Cody Haddon thing all over again. Aline Pereira versus Jade Mason Wong was fine. Mason Wong. It's the French pronunciation. It wasn't a fight I was looking forward to, and it delivered about that much, I guess. There you go. Brandon Jenkins versus Chris Avila. If Chris Avila could have kept the pressure on, he would have probably won this fight, because Brandon Jenkins had nothing off his back foot for him at all. Sadly, this fight card lost Lorenz Larkin versus Jason Jackson. We got Jeff Creighton instead. That would have been a really good fight. And we also lost the Moraes versus Mokaev fight, which I don't know if that would have been better than what we got with Moraes versus Nakuda. Like, probably not, actually. Probably not. But it would have been more impactful. And we'd probably be talking about it more. Now, I want to finish this up by talking about, was MVP successful? The answer has to be yes. This was the most viewed MMA fight live ever. And I get there are a lot of caveats for that. The availability of Netflix, or not Netflix, Yeah, and, HBO. Oh, I forget if it's Netflix or HBO. HBO, I think. The availability of the card obviously plays a role in that. The casual interest plays a role in that. And obviously the biggest caveat is, would people tune in again? That's the big question. But what did you want this card to do that it didn't do? Like that's the problem for, I think, any UFC fan or MVP naysayer or whatever. It's not that they've suddenly have changed the industry or whatever, but the event itself is an undoubted success. And that's all there is to it. And there's no way around that. There's no way to argue that. The fighters made bank. And of course, that brings up the whole fighter pay thing, which, again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you're defending the UFC's fighter pay scale, you failed at life. You could not care. I have no problem with people who are like, I don't care, and there's no business reason for them to change their pay structure. That's fine. That's indifference. That's being tired of hearing it, maybe. But the people are like, no, it's actually good. And like, no, it doesn't encourage people to be active because they're not active. It doesn't encourage the best fighting the best because it's got a freaking payroll on fight cards now. Are you kidding me? It's not good for the development of the sport. It's not good for the quality of cards. And this is all made feasible by the fact that Paramount is basically just giving them a blank check. They got $1 billion plus TV deal. I think it's $1.5 billion TV rights deal that has no actual bonding between them and the quality of the product. Like, that's how it's business feasible. But like, from a fan's point of view, none of this is good. None of it. Nothing. Dick. I'm debating with someone who's like, it's one night a year. It's not. It's a 2 to 3 month camp, and then also you have the coaches cut, the managers cut, the training partners cut, trainers cut, all of that. Like, it's an old conversation. So I'll just leave it at that. And we'll say no to the UFC Vegas card because we're the raw cut of this is up to over like 50 minutes. It'll be cut down a little bit to get rid of like bad audio, but that's about it. Anyways, check out my link tree down below or to the side to get my video gaming stuff, get other places you can consume the podcast, and the Discord server for the MMA Simulator and the Fight Masters League, which will be starting up again relatively short. We're just kind of like trying to figure out what event we want to do it with, and it was not UFC Macau. So have a good day. Enjoy your weekend, because this is probably going to get uploaded on Friday. And go kick butt in whatever you're doing.